this kind of leads me into the part of this conversation that I really want to address with you guys and help you understand that. And so let me just ask you this question, and anybody's free to answer. What is required in order to come to a place where you have to muster courage? What do you have to have first?
I'm going to say values and morals.
We're going there, but there's one thing that comes first.
I was going to say conflict.
Conflict. Anybody else? Fear, right? In order for me to achieve courage or attain courage or reach down and acquire courage or however you want to put it, I first have to have fear. And especially in a situation where there's a moral or an intellectual situation, what dictates whether or not I'm afraid? James said it. Values.
And values.
So I cannot be afraid unless I have a system of values that I align myself with, or a belief system. We know that values are what produce or generate beliefs. Beliefs come from values, agree? And so thinking about it from that perspective, let's kind of talk about these different types of courage that I can acquire, or I can achieve, or I can attain. The first is physical courage, agree? Like where I'm facing a physical threat. If I first don't have a belief that that thing is a threat, then therefore I cannot achieve courage, or I don't need courage in order to face that threat. This is the exact reason why my 2-year-old, he stands on the fucking counter and he just jumps off of it if there's somebody nearby that can catch him. No shit, dude. Like, it's scary. For me, it's scary. For him, every time I do this, I've been caught. So his belief system is I'm not going to get hurt. What's going to be required in order for him to stop jumping off of the counters? Somebody's going to have to miss and not catch him. He's going to have to get fucked up and get hurt. It's kind of the situation with the hot stove. So unless I believe that's a threat, I do not need courage. What about moral courage and the idea of standing up for an injustice, or standing up for the weak when they're being taken advantage of, or when somebody's rights are violated or something like that? What do I need in order to have the courage to stand up for that?
That situation is going to be more of a fear of judgment, going against popular opinion, societal views, that piece.
100%, right? And so in order for me to feel that I need courage to stand up for this person's rights or moral injustice, I first have to have a belief system that aligns with morals that don't align with that injustice. I have to have the moral fiber that influences me to do the right thing before I can have fear. And without fear, I cannot achieve courage. And so the last thing I want to talk about is disciplined courage. And this happens a lot with guys like you guys who are in pursuit of a set of goals or an outcome and something in your life that requires work. A good example for me, a lot of times when I have to face disciplined courage, it's putting the work in and not seeing the result, and still being willing to go back and put that work in, and carrying that fear that I'm going to fail to achieve the outcome that I want to achieve, yet still continuing to go back and have the courage to face that fear and put that effort forth. And so why am I talking about courage and the different types and what's required in order to get them? Well, so far we've identified that in order for me to have courage, I first need to have a value. And that value is influencing my system of beliefs. And then when I have something that violates or contradicts my belief system, I'm presented with a situation where I face what? Fear. And then when I face fear, I have to choose between being a coward and buckling under my system of beliefs, or compromising my system of beliefs and my values, or standing up and having courage by standing for that system of beliefs and those values. My next question for you is, how did you feel after you had that courage and you prevailed? Anybody?
Felt awesome. You accomplished something. It's not so much for the glory of it, but you've done something. You give back.
You feel good. You feel proud. What else? Anybody else have anything to add to that? How do you feel?
It's relief. There's like this weight lifted off your shoulders because you took it, you stood. It's like when the cop turns on the lights behind you when you're driving. Oh, shit. But then they speed past you and get the next guy, right?
Yeah. So you feel proud. You feel relieved. Relieved of what? That fear.
Vindicated until you get chastised for what you've done.
You feel vindicated. You feel empowered.
Feel like, holy cow, all this training I've had actually works.
Yeah. You feel a little bit surprised. Would you agree that you feel fulfilled? Yeah. Happy, maybe? Who'd make the argument that this is kind of a feeling that you get a high from where you want to chase it? It's like, I want to feel good like that all the time. So why are we talking about this? So going into that conversation, what would you say if I told you that in order for you to become the man that you are called to be, you have to have courage? And what's funny is we spent the last 20 minutes walking through this logical step-by-step process of identifying and dissecting exactly what courage comes from and then how you feel afterwards. And we know that in order for me to pursue my goals and be successful and create the life that I want to create, I need to have courage as a man and step up and pursue those things. Yet we choose not to in a lot of cases. Would you agree? Yeah. Why? Because we forget it's comfortable. It's safe. The biggest disservice that your mom ever gave you was be careful, son. Oh, you ever see those helicopter moms? I just 10 minutes ago talked about my 2-year-old son doing fucking belly flops off the kitchen counter. Do you know why? That young man is going to be empowered. He's going to get fucked up, but guess what? He's going to get right back up. And you know what he's going to do? Another belly flop. We need fear. I'm going to tell you that if there isn't a healthy amount of fear in your life, then you're not pushing yourself hard enough. It's easy to get stagnant and comfortable and sit stationary in the life that you live. Even for guys like you who are actively pursuing your personal development, you show up to these calls every week, you go to the gym, you stay consistent, you join the coaching program, you do all the things that this program offers. It's still possible to be stagnant in that space. You're always holding space. And we talked about this last week where I said, hey, if you're not moving forward, what are you doing? You're moving backwards. So the best indication that you're moving forward is what? A daily or constant sense that you're overcoming a fear. And now I'm not telling you guys to go out into the world and be adrenaline junkies, and I'm going to have Steve Polk jumping out of a fucking airplane. But what I am saying is every single day you're faced with the courage of struggling with the type of discipline courage or intellectual courage or moral courage. And the way that you can ensure that you're constantly kind of pushing the envelope and growing as a man and improving and getting better is finding new ways to test that limit, to test that, what we would call kind of shroud of darkness. The gambling scene, they say you got to bet big to win big. What is a bet? Starts with an R.
Risk.
Risk. In order for me to grow and get better, improve, feel fulfilled, because remember, that's what happens after we persevere through fear and overcome that fear through courage, we feel fulfilled. I have to have risk. Who here has done like track car racing or any type of racing for that matter? Why is it exciting? Because you can get fucked up, right? When I was a kid, I was a skateboarder. I can't tell you how many fucking bones I broke, including my ankles. And that's why my ankles are fucked up today. If there wasn't a risk, it wouldn't have the fulfillment, the benefit. You have to overcome fear in order to achieve fulfillment as a man. And in order to close that gap or create that bridge, you have to have courage. And so let's be honest here. Who here has found themselves in a place where they wake up without fear? Or on the other side of the coin, who here has woken up struggling with the emotion of anxiety or anxiousness? What would you say if I told you that anxiety is a healthy emotion on the spectrum of emotions? Because that's an indication that you have a healthy amount of fear. The problem is the reason why that anxiety overtakes you is because you don't face that fear. Interesting perspective, right? I think it's really, really important that we take that time to evaluate and understand that emotional intelligence and the spectrum of emotions that we feel and we go through as men aren't things that we should be diagnosing or putting labels on. This is something that I need to learn to identify and have the emotional intelligence to understand what's happening with me mentally, so that I can address those emotions in a way that's appropriate with what my heart, my mind, and God are telling me I need to do with my life. And a lot of the reason why people struggle so much with these mental health issues is because they choose to ignore those emotional indicators that are occurring, because that's all an emotion is. It's an indicator of your body's response to the world around you and the stimulus that's occurring. Yes, we have the ability to choose how we feel about things and control those emotions. But the goal, and this is what I've taught you guys over the past year or two, is achieving that degree of stoicism where I can create that barrier between the emotions or the stimulus that's occurring and how I respond. And the best way for me to achieve that degree of stoicism where I can create that barrier or that membrane or however you want to refer to it as, is to have a deeper understanding of what these feelings actually mean instead of just slapping labels on them and accepting them for what they are. And again, saying, I have anxiety. No, you're feeling anxious. Let's peel that back and try to identify why it is that you're feeling that way and address that and solve the core of that issue. And 9 times out of 10 for guys with anxiety, it's because either they're focused on things outside of their control or they're living in a place in stagnance where that fear is basically piling up and it's debilitating their ability to pursue progress and move forward in their lives. Your emotions are a barometer. You guys understand that, right? These are things that you need to understand and really be able to dissect. Why am I feeling this way? If my body is giving me this kind of sixth sense that's going off, I need to listen to it. Like, hey, what's going on here? And then adjust my behavior, adjust my actions, my priorities accordingly so that I can mitigate those negative emotions that are coming into my space rather than just accepting them and feeling like I have to throw that fucking thing over my shoulder too and carry on. And now from that perspective, I'm sure you guys realize why as men for most of your life, you felt like you're alone in these struggles and these emotions that you're facing, and you don't really feel like you have anybody to go to because the expectation is you just shoulder it, right? That's not the case. Educate yourself and empower yourself by understanding and learning what these emotions mean. And now you have the ability to more powerfully stand as that masculine leader and create the connections with the people around you because you're not allowing those emotions to dictate your identity or your actions. And so having courage is actually a phenomenal indicator of whether or not you're making progress in your life and if you're in pursuit of something that fulfills your purpose as a man.